Hey YouTube, Joe Walker here at Def Digits Guitar Lessons, and right now I'm doing a live lesson for my student Jordan. Jordan has been working on some songwriting exercises that I've given him, and I don't think Jordan has covered bar chords yet. We haven't studied them in lessons together yet, so I'm going to cover bar chords for Jordan and how to use them in a songwriting context. So Jordan's song that he's been working on starts off something like this. The last time I saw it in progress, it was going D for a measure, and then E for a measure, and then G for a measure, and A for a measure. And he had some melodies that he had worked out, and we'd come up with those chords to put under those melodies. So to put this in context, this is the chord progression I'll be showing you using bar chords and how to get some more songwriting ideas with those bar chords. So it's going D, E, 2, 3, 4, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, E, G, A. So that's what he has so far, and he knows those open chords. But now we need to take those open chords and do some different things with them. We can come up with riffs that go with the chords. We can come up with melodies that go with them. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to get those chords away from the open strings and play them as bar chords and come up with some other ideas with the bar chords that never could have happened with the open chords because you're playing the notes in different places. You might be playing higher notes from those chords or different notes from the chords, usually higher or lower octaves, or you might be playing a more full chord for D instead of just that one. So you might have more options to choose from as you're choosing notes that go well with the chords, or usually the notes that are in the chords. So let me show you what these 4 bar chords are in a couple of different places. So let's start right in the middle of everything. This is not the first chord in the progression, but let's start with A. So in order to do this, it's going to be crucial that you can find the note names along the low E string and on the A string. I'll show you how to do that really quick. If this is new to you, you'll just have to kind of take a moment to assimilate this knowledge. So we've got E down here. E to F is a half step, so that's 1 fret to F. And when we get to B and C, that's also a half step. Everything else is a whole step. That's 2 frets. So we get E, F, whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C, whole step to D, whole step to E again. 12th fret is the same as the open string. That's E. Do the same thing on the A string. You get A, whole step to B, half step to C, whole step to D, whole step to E, half step to F, whole step to G, whole step to A. Why do we need to know all that? It's because when we take those open chords and we want to play bar chords, we need to find the root note on one of those 2 strings. So if your chord is A, and you want to play A as something other than an open chord, you want to play it as a bar chord, you need to find A right here. It's best if you know it cold, you can go straight to that note, but before you know it cold, you have to be able to figure it out. So we got E, F, G, A. There it is. That's how you'll figure it out. So A is on the 5th fret. We start by taking 1 finger and bar it straight across the strings, and the tip of your finger is on that A root note on the low E string. The rest of your finger is going to go straight across the strings, parallel to the fret, right behind the fret. You can see there's the fret peeking out from under my finger. It's right behind the fret, and I'm pressing all the strings down. This is the first step. You're pressing all the strings down so they're all clear or pretty close to it. We're going to throw some other fingers in there. So in the end, these don't all have to be clear, but that's your first step, is try to get all 6 strings clear with 1 finger. Next, we're going to go 3rd finger on the 7th fret fourth finger on the 7th fret. Those are on the next 2 strings. So this is low E string here. Third finger's on the A string, 7th fret. Fourth finger is on the D string, 7th fret. Second finger goes on the G string, 6th fret, right in there. Then your top 2 strings, B and E, are being fretted by your first finger. So your first finger is only in charge of getting the sound of this one, low E string, and the B string, and the E string. In this one particular chord, it's in charge of those 3 strings. So that's the sound of the chord that you end up getting when all of those fingers are really clear. So we've got, let me take you through the frets again to make sure you've got it right. Fret 5, fret 7, 7, 6, 5, 5. And all of those 5th fret notes are under the charge of your first finger. This chord we can now move around, and whatever the root note is the name of the chord. So if we have it here on the 5th fret, that note is an A, so this is an A major chord. If we move it down to the 3rd fret, that note on the 3rd fret is a G, so this is G major chord. And that's one of the ones that we need from our progression, going D, E, G, A. If we wanted to get D, we can't get D any lower than this. It's going E, F, G, A, B, C, D up there on the 10th fret. So we squash your fingers together. It'll feel a little bit different at the 10th fret than it did down at the 3rd fret, but still the same principles apply. Straight first finger all the way across 6 strings, and you get that sound. That's D. Then if you want E, you could do E down here at the open string, but then you're just playing the open chord. If you imagine your first finger is straight across where the nut is, it's not really fretting anything there because those are the open strings. Your other fingers come in on board. That's the shape of the bar chord, but it's also exactly the open E chord. That's where all these bar chords come from. It's from that open E chord. So if we wanted to take that away from the open string, we'd have to go all the way up to the 12th fret, squash everything together up there. Kind of a pain, but it is possible. Next, let me show you root 5 bar chords. Those were all root 6 major bar chords because the root was on the 6th string. Root 5 means the root is on the 5th string, on the A string. So let's go to D first. We've got A, B, C, D on the 5th fret. Now your first finger is not going to be barring across all 6 strings. It does something a little bit sneaky right here. It's barring across 5 strings, but it's also muting the low E string. If you can see that, the tip of my finger is barely touching the low E string, just enough that it'll go clunk in case I hit it. The other 5 strings are clear while my bar is in place. This takes a long time to do. Don't be discouraged if you can't do it today. If you can't do it today or this week from a lot of practice, then you are normal. It takes most guitarists a while to get the hang of exactly where your fingers need to go to get these bar chords to work. So we've got that finger going across 5 strings. Next, your 3rd finger is going to come in. Your 3rd finger is going to take care of 3 strings. So it has to bend backwards like this, lock that knuckle so that you get the pad of your finger going across 3 strings. It's going on the D, the G, and the B strings. So the clear chord that we want, the ideal clear chord, is going clunk on the low E string, 5th fret on the A string, then 7th fret, 7th, 7th, that's all from your 3rd finger, and then 5th fret on the high E string. There it is. So I actually usually don't do all 5 of those clear notes. I'll usually stick with the middle 4 strings. And then my high E is clunked out and my low E is clunked out. So when I strum it, I'm only getting 4 strings, 4 notes like that. But sometimes I want that high note, the 5th fret underneath my bar finger up here on the high E string. Sometimes I want that note and I need to be able to kind of get my hand into just the right position to make that work. But in practice, when I'm just playing through a bunch of bar chords, I probably won't be trying to hit that note. So That's D major. If we want E major, it's very close by. D and E are close together, so D up a whole step to E on the 7th fret. So now we get clunk on the low E string, 7, 9, 9, 9, 7. Next we want G for the 3rd chord in the progression. That's E, whole half step to F, whole step to G. And these frets are clunk, 10, 12, 12, 12, 10. Next, for the A chord, we go to the 12th fret. And again, for an A chord with a root on the A string, we could take the root right there at the open A string. And imagine your bar here and your 3rd finger coming in here on the 2nd fret. Like that. And that's exactly the open A chord, whether you play it like this or like this with the 3rd finger like we just did, or I usually play it with my 1st finger. Those are exactly the notes from an A chord. So that's where all of those root 5 bar chords come from. They come from the open A chord. Just take that open A and move it away from the open strings, and then you get all of these bar chords. So now how can we use this in songwriting? Well, first way that I see, since these chords kind of lend themselves to going up, 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 because they're connected by smaller steps going up than going down to find the next chord, we could start here and go D, up to 7th fret E, 10th fret G, 12th fret A. Now already that sounds very different from this. So I could do something that takes advantage of that climbing motion of these 4 chords. Maybe I could take just 2 of the strings from this bar chord, and instead of strumming the whole chord, I could just get these 2 notes, D string and the B string. Maybe do this. And I've got a little pattern there that would go with this. And that pattern that I came up with the bar chords, never would have found that pattern just thinking of the open chords. You can find lots of patterns with the open chords, but there'll be certain things that lend themselves to the open chords, and other ideas will lend themselves to the bar chords. So let's try doing something with the root 6 bar chords. We'll take D here at the 10th fret, E here at the 12th fret, and then G down at the 3rd fret, A at the 5th fret. What can I come up with that? Maybe I'll just take these 2 strings, the G string and the B string. And that's going to be, if I think about how the whole bar chord goes, at the 10th fret, G string will be 11th fret, B string 10th fret. So I can just do something like, so now I've got something that I can play that is not as hard as the bar chords to play, but sounds like a nice extra layer to go on top of the open chords or on top of the bass line if someone's playing bass on it. So for songwriting purposes, one of the best things you can use these bar chords for is get yourself out of your comfort zone of however you've developed your song so far, whether it's with open chords or with a melody or just with like a bass line thing. You can come up with other ideas where you can just take the bar chord idea and strip away most of it. Just say, I'm going to take this note out of the bar chord because I know it's going to work with that chord because it's in the chord. Take this one note or these 2 notes or something simple from the bar chord idea, and then take that simple thing and move it through the chords. And you've got something that's way easier to play than the bar chords, but is still a creative development on top of what you might have already done on open chords. So Jordan, your job is to take the bar chords that I've shown you, D, E, G, A, from root 5 bar chords and root 6, going D, E, G, A. Take those bar chords, try to learn how to play them, clearly, but that's going to take a while. So you work on playing them clearly, but then also work on taking little slices out of the bar chords to come up with ideas that will go with this song that's starting out going D, E, G, A. With the open chords, we can get some other ideas from the bar chords. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.